Good morning. It's Annie Sprinkles coming to you live here at the Daily Scoop. And it's Sunday, May 1st. Happy May, or Happy May Day, I should say. Well, today's flavor of the day, I'll start right off with that since I'm in the kitchen here. And I'm doing this for a couple reasons. Today's flavor is Purple Rain. And today's flavor is Purple Rain because, number one, purple is the color for domestic violence awareness. I'm also doing a little dedication to Prince. I've been having a heavy heart over the loss of Prince. So I'm making Purple Rain ice cream today. These are fresh blueberries that I have cooked down and made my syrup to make my blueberry Purple Rain ice cream for my honey Jim and Zach. All right. So today, since it's Sunday, I thought it only appropriate. I'm going to read a letter that was forwarded to me. Actually, it's an article in a Catholic journal in Chicago, and it's actually written by Judith Valente. I'm sorry, Judith. And she's America's Chicago correspondent. She's a regular contributor to NPR on religion and ethics. So she's kind of an expert in journal on this. And my Aunt Anne, who is a nun, she's a Cistercian nun, and she lives in a small community of nuns. It's like a Trappist monastery. You can Google that if you want to learn more. But anyways, it's in Iowa, and my auntie has been part of this community for many, many years, and she's of course a Catholic nun, and she is just a great support to me in the work I do here to raise awareness about domestic violence and help people understand the tactics of abuse and what we can do more as a community to help end this scourge. So I get a lot of support from her, and what she'll do often is send me a letter or an article that she reads, and if it's on the topic of domestic violence and she agrees with it and thinks I would too, and thinks it would be important to share with people, I go ahead and do that. So that's how she supports the Daily Scoop. So thank you, Aunt Anne. So I'm going to go ahead and read this letter. It was actually published in a Catholic journal. Let's see, April 6th of 2015. And like I said, it was written by Judith Valente, and the author is a Catholic priest in Chicago. He lives there now. And the title is Straight Talk on Domestic Violence. At a parish on Chicago's north side, Charles Dame, OP, finishes reading the Sunday Gospel. The familiar story of a woman accused of adultery who is threatened with public stoning until Jesus intervenes. Father Dame then launches into a homily that surprises many. Today I would like to speak about women who are abused in their own homes, who suffer in silence and in secret, he says. How many of you have ever heard a sermon about domestic violence? Raise your hand. See, no one. Father Dame is a priest on a mission to bring domestic violence out of the shadows and into the consciousness of parishioners throughout Chicago. He hopes to prompt pastors to make domestic violence prevention as important in ministry as Christian initiation of adults, Bible study, or marriage preparation. A Dominican priest for 50 years, Father Dame says he thought little about domestic abuse until he became the pastor at St. Pius V Church in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. One day, the pastoral counselor came to him. Father, almost all my clients from the parish are women, and most of them are victims of domestic violence. Father Dame says, I had no idea. And I knew many of these women. With only a small budget and mostly volunteers, Father Dame quickly found counselors trained to deal with domestic abuse. They help form support groups for the women, their children, and husbands who recognized they had a problem. Father Dane placed information in the church bulletin on where to find help. Most important, he preached about the problem. Father Dane is now spreading his message to other Chicago parishes. Sometimes it's an uphill battle. One pastor told him a homily on domestic violence might upset the congregation's children. One of the worst things you can do is let them grow up in a home where there's violence, he says. Your daughters are learning how to be submissive to this abuse, and your sons are learning how to be abusive. 1 in 4 U.S. women reports having been hit or sexually assaulted by a partner, according to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Others suffer emotional, psychological, or financial abuse. Worldwide, others suffer emotional and worldwide, 35% of women report physical or sexual violence, according to the United Nations. But the rate is as high as 70% in some countries. Church teaching on domestic violence is clear. No person is expected to stay in an abusive marriage. The bishops wrote in their pastoral letter, "When I call for help, violence against women inside or outside the home is never justified." Churches can serve as a significant partner in the fight against domestic violence, but they are sometimes part of the problem, says Jan Berdulis, who helps Father Dane establish support groups. So many women I've worked with over the years are practicing Catholics, and they cannot comprehend the idea that it would be acceptable if they were to leave or get a divorce. After Father Dane preaches, he invites parishioners interested in combating domestic violence to meet with him. As many as 40 people have shown up at a single parish. I divorced my abuser but was about to marry another abuser. So this is a cycle that continues unless you get help too. One woman told Father Dane. His approach also stresses helping abusers. Being in an all-male group was important to Roman Carrion. He had for years rebuffed his wife's pleas to go into counseling with her. Carrion says he didn't think he had a problem because he never hit his wife, though he often called her names or didn't speak to her for days if they argued. To me, I was a nice man. I thought I was doing better than most of my family, he says. But listening to other men talk about how they treated their wives, he says, he realized how he, too, behaved. He vowed to change. I did a lot of things I regret, but now I can live the rest of my life with my wife without violence, he says. The good news about domestic violence is that it's a learned behavior, Father Dane says. It's not something we inherit in our genes. We learn it from somebody or someplace. That is why Father Dane will keep preaching and teaching about domestic violence, whether anyone is willing to listen or not. So there's your daily scoop today. Sorry for such a movement here. I know this is primarily audio for your audio pleasure and learning. We are going to step up the program here. I am working on getting some sponsors here with the Daily Scoop. As most of you know, if you are scoopers and you tune in every day, and of course some of you already know because you signed up, I am going to have a free community awareness event. It's going to be at the Irondequoit Public Library on May 23rd. It's a Monday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's going to be in the Densmore Creek room. That's on the first floor of the new library up on Titus. And it's totally free. And, we're going to watch a film, and I'm going to share my personal story. And then 2 other stories of victims that have similar things that happened in their domestic violence relationships in their homes, in their past. So I'm going to share those stories and a couple of myths and facts. So I'm going to invite you to do that. And you're also going to get free Daily Scoop ice cream. So we're raising awareness, and we're creating peace and harmony. And, this is just all a way to make this topic a little bit more palatable for us here. It's such a hard thing to talk about. I've said this in the past. I'll say, oh, what do you do? Well, I'm in sales. I work for Robotech, and we do professional camera services. Oh, cool. They'll want to talk about that all day long. Which, by the way, that's where I'm going to get some of this support. Hello, I work for an audiovisual camera company, and I've got audiovisual technical difficulties here, and just kind of slap shot here. I'm on an ice cream budget, so we don't use our professional cameras, obviously, here. But we're thinking about, getting some corporate sponsors around the Daily Scoop so that I can, do that and make this more pleasant. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to start doing some community workshops. So raising more awareness that way. So please join us and sign up, please, because there's only 50 seats. So May 23rd, it's a Monday night, public library up in Irondequoit. And we're going to, see a short film, and then just have some ice cream. And, there's going to be a lot of information on community resources. There'll be someone in the room, to help if anybody, has some concerns about this, or something resonates in the stories you hear, or something you read, or something you see. You can say, wow, my sister or my mom or my niece could really use some help. Well, I'm going to have a table not only full of free ice cream, but we're also going to have literature there on our community resources, both locally, statewide, and nationally, on how you can get help, both from a legal perspective, from a local shelter if necessary, transitional support, financial support. So there'll be a plethora of information there on our community resources as well. So lots of free stuff and good information to take with you, and just another way for you to learn here from the Daily Scoop on how you can make a change in our community and maybe help save a life. Okay, so I am going to sign off now. Have a beautiful Sunday. And, no pun intended, Ice Cream Sunday. Sunday, May 1st, Annie Sprinkle signing off. Thanks so much for tuning in, and pass this along if you think it's helpful and useful. Thanks.